Hi there. Welcome back to our two-part series on Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni and Associates. If you missed episode 1, then please remember to subscribe and also hit that notification bell to learn when new episodes drop. In episode 1, I covered the first portion of the complaint, reading through the intro and some key moments in the factual background, as laid out by Lively. Today, we will resume reading over the retaliatory campaign Lively claims to have experienced, along with the personal and professional consequences that she endured from this campaign. As a reminder, this complaint is a precursor to a civil lawsuit. There are claims from the plaintiff, Lively, of misconduct, harassment, and retaliation at the hands of the defendants. As such, this episode may be triggering for some viewers. I've redacted and substituted explicit words and phrases and make an effort to remain consistent with the complaint as it's written. So with that, let's get started. E. Mr. Baldoni and his team formulate a retaliatory plan. Wayfarer knew the details of Lively and others' concerns, the HR complaints about the behavior, and the contractual writer, as well as the January 4th meeting to discuss behavior. In addition, Wayfarer's PR team knew about the claims by Ms. Lively and others, as well as the protections writer, as Wayfarer sent the material to them November 2023. As early as May 2024, Baldoni told his team that they needed a plan to get ahead of the claims against him in the event they were to go public. Specifically, he wrote, "Just want you guys to have a plan. Makes me feel more at ease." On May 17th, Baldoni texted his publicist, Jennifer Abel, that Lively's husband had blocked him on social media, stating the following: "We should have a plan for if she does the same when the movie comes out." In June of 24, a month after Baldoni's first promotional event for the film, Lively and others in the cast fulfilled their publicity obligation for the film without Baldoni. They did not publicly discuss the misconduct, nor did they ever suggest to Wayfarer or Baldoni that they intended to do so. Yet, on June 20th, Abel texted Heath her concern: "We can't have fans starting to guess why JB is left out of this stuff." Likewise, Baldoni strategized with his publicist, Ms. Abel, about various ways in which they might cover up or explain away his on-set misconduct. On June 24th, for example, Baldoni proposed an offensive more showing his neurodivergence and some of the attributes that come with it, to explain that anything that he had been accused of was social awkwardness and impulsive speech. The same day, Abel reviewed again and agreed upon the list of protections that were formed for the basis of the contractual writer. On July 24th, Abel emailed Heath and others requesting the legal letter was sent to Lively and her team, stating, "Per our conversation, we will go through point by point and draft context surrounding each situation. We can then flag what we are missing that would be helpful to arm us in case we need to refute any of the claims." On July 26th, Baldoni sent Abel a Variety article about Francis Ford Coppola's inappropriate behavior on set during production of his movie Megalopolis, including his alleged kissing of the cast and crew, as described by unnamed sources. In conveying the article, Baldoni stated, "This is the stuff that I'm sure they want to do. Unnamed sources, etc." On July 29th, Baldoni and Abel discussed a proposal to get ahead of any potential publicity regarding Lively's HR complaints against him with a social and digital combat plan. F. Wayfarer engages Melissa Nathan and the agency group on behalf of Mr. Baldoni to launch a retaliation campaign against Ms. Lively. As the film's release date of August 19th drew closer, Baldoni, Heath, Wayfarer, Abel, and others continued to pursue a strategy on behalf of Baldoni and Wayfarer. Let me go to the next page, to arm themselves against the possibility that Lively or others might go public with the claims against Baldoni or Wayfarer. This plan took shape with Wayfarer's retention of Melissa Nathan around July 31st, and Melissa Nathan is a crisis manager. On or about June 20th, she launched the agency group PR, TAG. TAG markets itself as a team of crisis specialists and communications experts that redefines the rules of reputation management. On the website it says, at TAG, it's more than just creating a powerful narrative, it's knowing how to navigate that narrative towards continued success and a lasting legacy. The website states that it offers comprehensive communication services for individuals, businesses, and corporations looking to invest in reputation management and the growth of their unique public profiles. TAG specializes in crisis communications, having managed some of the biggest public-facing crises to date, and utilizes that fast-paced, reputation-first mindset with all of its day-to-day clients, with a span of variety of industries, including entertainment, media, business, and sports. Services include messaging and narrative development, media relations, crisis communications and management, and digital and social strategy, among others. By July 34th, Wayfarer had started to put together a timeline of events to be shared with TAG. According to TAG's own planning document, the purpose of Nathan's engagement was to help Mr. Baldoni get ahead of the narrative and mitigate bad press that might arise from Lively and others' HR complaints becoming public by engaging in techniques such as rapid response communication system and cataloging third-party advocates willing to provide a potential quote or engage with reporters on either person's behalf to mitigate negative narratives from outside sources of Wayfarer. As previously mentioned, on August 5th, Baldoni sent Abel a screenshot of a thread on X regarding another public figure who was a female and their alleged history of bullying many women. Baldoni stating, "This is what we would need." The next day, even though Ms. Nathan and TAG had already begun performing work on behalf of Wayfarer and Baldoni, Nathan sent a text chain with Abel and Heath providing pricing quotes from $75,000 to $175,000 for TAG's crisis mitigation services. Ms. Nathan explains the quotes as displayed on the screen. You may pause to read in full. But to summarize, quote 1, $175,000, which includes website, full Reddit, full social account takedowns, full social crisis team on hand for everything, engage with audience the right way, start threads of theories, and emphasize that this is the way to be fully 100% protected. Quote 2 of $25,000 per month is for the creation of social fan engagement to go back and forth with any negative accounts, helping to change the narrative and to stay on track. Nathan said, "All of this will be, most importantly, untraceable." The Hollywood Reporter announced the retention of Nathan and TAG on August 13th. That report stated in part, "The news comes days after sleuths flooded TikTok with speculation about an alleged rift between Baldoni and his casting crew, including co-star and producer Blake Lively, as well as Hoover. Chatter spiked when fans noticed Baldoni's absence from joint press events and the lack of group photos of Lively and Baldoni together at the New York premiere August 6. Some also pointed out that neither Lively or Hoover, nor the rest of the cast, follows Baldoni on Instagram, though he follows them. F. Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, and Wayfarer perpetrate a retaliation scheme against Ms. Lively. Ms. Abel, Ms. Nathan, and others employed or engaged by TAG perpetrated a retaliation scheme in collusion with Baldoni, Heath, and Wayfarer. The scheme was what TAG described as social manipulation, relying on direct and constant media engagement, the seeding of content on traditional and social media platforms, the boosting of content, sometimes the very content that TAG and its affiliates had seeded, the suppressing of negative content about Baldoni, and amplifying of negative content about Lively. On August 1st, before any of the cast sat down for interviews at the film's press junkets, Abel stated to Heath and Wayfarer that she had an in-person meeting with a contributor to People, Fox News, In Touch, and US Weekly. or Us Weekly. I think it's US Weekly. Ms. Abel explained that during the meeting, she had fully briefed the contributor of the situation. Abel stated that the contributor was armed and ready to take the story of Blake weaponizing feminism, and that the contributor will do anything for us. On August 2nd, Abel connected the contributor with Nathan. Subsequently, Nathan engaged directly with media sources on behalf of Baldoni and Wayfarer regarding Baldoni, Lively, and the film. On August 2nd, Nathan, Baldoni, Abel, and others had a phone call to discuss the services that Nathan and TAG would provide. Subsequently, on August 2nd, TAG circulated a document to Baldoni and others called Scenario Planning, It Ends With Us. I've put it on screen. I will flip through it if you want to pause and read. Of note, the scenario planning document states, there are several potential scenarios at play here in which we should be prepared for should Ms. Lively and her team make her grievances public. The scenario planning document provides TAG's recommendations to get ahead of the narrative. This included suggesting misleading messaging, that production members lost their job due to Lively's takeover, or that Lively involved her husband to create an imbalance of power between her and Baldoni, or that Lively had a less than favorable reputation in the industry, or perhaps that she had a clear, likely motive to bully her way into buying the rights for It Starts With Us, the sequel to the film currently owned by Wayfarer. The document also states that TAG could also explore planning stories about the weaponization of feminism and how people in Lively's circle, like Taylor Swift, have been accused of utilizing these tactics to bully into getting what they want. Upon review of the scenario planning document, Baldoni informed Heath that he was not in love with the document they sent and that he wasn't sure he was feeling the protection he felt on the call. Heath responded, "That's the most important part of this, is how quickly they can shut things down and play stories in your favor." Later the same day, Abel conveyed to Nathan that Baldoni was questioning whether the plan was aggressive enough, texting that Baldoni wanted to feel like Lively could be buried. Ms. Nathan responds, "Of course, but you know when we send over the documents, we can't send over the work because that could get us in a lot of trouble. We can't write it down to him. We can't write that we will destroy her. Imagine if a document saying all the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands." On August 4th, Abel texted Nathan stating, "I'm having reckless thoughts of wanting to plant pieces this week of how horrible Blake is to work with." And you can read the rest of it on the screen, but Nathan responded, "Same," and indicated she had already spoken with the Daily Mail. Abel and Nathan viewed and referred to their shared work on behalf of Baldoni and Wayfarer as a social combat plan. That same day, Abel corresponded with TAG personnel regarding her discussion with Nathan regarding social manipulation, which she described as distinct from social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the narrative. When media sources made direct inquiries regarding potentially unflattering stories about Baldoni, Nathan, Abel, and their teams worked to suppress those stories. For example, on August 7th, TAG indicated their intent to leverage social to quiet/kill media coverage regarding public suspicions about Baldoni's disconnect from the film's cast. On August 9th, Nathan sent Abel 2 links of articles, one from The Hollywood Reporter entitled, "Did Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni have a rift over It Ends With Us? Sleuthing TikTokers think so," and the other from the Daily Mail entitled, "Disturbing Truth Behind Why Blake Lively and her It Ends With Us stars are feuding with Baldoni." Daily Mail article reports that allegations that Justin Baldoni was chauvinistic, borderline abusive, and discusses the other claims with respect to the film and its cast in detail. Abel stated to Ms. Nathan, "I can tell you've done a lot of work here," and continued, "Nothing about being unsafe, fat comments, sexual." She concluded, "Thank fucking God." On August 8th, Abel stated that the situation had moved from just monitoring and scenario planning to Ms. Nathan and her having an off-the-record conversation with outlets such as the Today Show. Abel noted that because of Nathan's relationships, those outlets were kept at bay. On August 9th, Nathan indicated to Abel that she was on the phone with her sister, a journalist from the New York Post, and a contributor at Page 6, and remarked that Baldoni's religion should be taken out from the media coverage. She went on to state, and mostly the misogynistic stuff. Later that same day, Nathan texted Abel a link of the article on Page 6 entitled, "Truth Behind It Ends With Us Feud Rumors. Baldoni made Lively uncomfortable," sources say, stating, "I knew she would keep uncomfortable." On August 9th, Abel and Nathan discussed suppressing 2 stories that Lively was uncomfortable on the set. Nathan texted, "All press is so overwhelming. We've confused people. So much mixed messaging. It's actually really funny if you think about it." Nathan further texted Abel that the worst was over and that Baldoni likely would not be canceled, corroborating the nature of the ongoing campaign and that it was designed to harm Lively and conceal Baldoni's conduct on set. The following day, Abel texted Nathan about how good the narrative online was, and that she and Justin saw this as a total success. Nathan later texted that the majority of socials are so pro-Justin that even she doesn't agree with half of them. She continued, saying Baldoni doesn't realize how lucky he is right now. She went on to talk about Baldoni whispering in Lively's ear and how uncomfortable it made other cast feel. The following day, Abel confirmed to Baldoni that there had been nothing, very little pickup, and that fans believe the issue of the feud is because she took control of the movie. Earlier on August 9th, Nathan had shared with Abel that she had been informed that they were crushing it on Reddit. Nathan's reference to Jed in the above comment is a reference to Jed Wallace, an independent contractor in Austin who was retained by TAG to perform social media services on behalf of Wayfarer and Baldoni in connection with TAG's engagement. The quotation appears to be a reference to efforts by Wallace to seed and influence online forums on Reddit, attacking Lively and defending Baldoni. The same day, a TAG employee texted a link to a story about Lively's family, noting that the tides were swirling around Ryan right now. And along the same lines, the team had previously shared an upsetting TikTok video which called for Blake to divorce Ryan, writing, "You guys will love this." TAG then described the post as very helpful. On August 10th, Nathan stated to Abel that socials are really ramping up and continued, "It's actually sad because it just shows you have people that really want to hate on women." That same day, a member of the TAG team advised of a shift on social, due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative towards shining a spotlight on Blake and Ryan. Further, Nathan and her team helped generate or otherwise influence the content put forth by various TikTok account holders. During that same period of time, Nathan, Abel, and their teams were heavily monitoring and had friendlies updating them, and sought to address unflattering commentary regarding Mr. Baldoni while augmenting the spread of stories that were favorable to Mr. Baldoni. For example, on August 9th, Abel circulated a screenshot of a post by a woman stating that Justin exploited the struggles of individuals facing terminal illnesses for his own gain, that he found her dad, who was battling serious illness, and followed her life closely. Despite her grace in not speaking ill of him, she sensed from the start that something was wrong, and Justin weaponized therapeutic language, presenting himself as thoughtful and supportive, yet his actions revealed a very different reality. He portrays himself as an ally to women and vulnerable, but it's a facade. She said he manipulates the vernacular of care to mask his true intentions, and that in reality, none of the proceeds from the show benefited the individuals he profiled, rather. He even had the audacity to depict her hometown, she said, as a small, impoverished. For example, on August 9th, Abel circulated a post in which a woman talks about a friend of hers battling a serious illness, who was studied by Justin for his show My Last Days. The woman felt that while Justin expressed words that were thoughtful and supportive, and while he presented as an ally to women and the vulnerable, his actions were unsupportive and a facade. The woman claimed that once the show aired, Justin vanished, leaving nothing but a sense of exploitation in his wake. In response, Abel stated that she is assuming this is not true in the slightest. Either way, we flagged to Jed and his team for more serious action on the social side. Similarly, on August 13th, 2024, the team discussed ways to use the digital team to amplify positive stories. Likewise, on August 18th, a TAG employee suggested that they chat with Jed in response to other allegations made online. Approximately 1 minute later, Abel asserted the need to position the claims as claims that are already out there about the kiss and the Wade comment, referencing the earlier public reporting that TMZ had about the lingering kiss with Lively and the comments made about her weight. Around the same time, Nathan directly engaged with several media platforms discussing the issue of HR complaints made against Baldoni while on set. On August 15th, Nathan texted Abel about the Daily Mail and that they are requesting more information on the HR complaints. She said that it went super well and that she had to call her later or in a bit to tell her how it went, and that it was genius, and that they have 4 majors standing down on the HR complaint. Majors being media publications. During the same period of time, Nathan and her team planted or otherwise were involved in generating or influencing content put forth on social media. For example, on August 13th, various text messages were exchanged between Abel, the journalist Sarah Nathan, who, as explained above, is Melissa Nathan's sister. These messages consisted of drafts of a story outlining Lively's role in making final cuts to the film. After Nathan circulated draft language related to Lively's involvement in the different cuts, Abel sent Nathan revisions, which Nathan offered to amend. On the same day, an article authored by Nathan titled Blake Lively Approved Final Cut of It Ends With Us Amid Feud with Co-Star Baldoni was published in page 6. The article addressed, among other topics, Lively's role in approving the film and the final cut of the film, but emphasizes that she contributed to almost every aspect of it, that her husband wrote one of the most important scenes in the movie, and that she was begged to remove one of the songs from the film, despite Baldoni's ownership of the rights to the book via his production company. The language contained in the article is almost a verbatim copy of the language that was exchanged between Nathan and Abel via text, and reflects Abel's revisions to Sarah Nathan's original proposed draft. TAG publicly shared this article on one or more social media platforms, prompting various negative comments in relation to Lively and her husband, and the narrative that Lively steamrolled or bulldozed Baldoni and the film for her own personal gain. The very next day, Nathan sent an article from the Daily Mail. It was titled, Is Blake Lively Set to Be Cancelled? String of hard-to-watch videos that have surfaced following tone-deaf Q&A to promote It Ends With Us could tarnish 36-year-old's golden Hollywood image for good. Abel stated, You really outdid yourself with this piece. And Ms. Nathan responded, That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best. Following the August 2024 launch of Lively's hair care line, Blake Brown, which she spent 7 years building, the Instagram account of the brand was flooded by harassing and derogatory comments, including many posted by user accounts that had no followers and no posts, and did not relate to the brand's products. To take one example, one comment posted on the account commented, "How about you stop paying the media to trash and smear Justin? That would be a good start, you awful human being." Another said, "We want Justin's cut of the movie. He actually cares about DV." Baldoni, Sarowitz, along with Heath, not only encouraged efforts to target Lively and family, but they went as far as to provide input and ideas on ways to negatively influence the narrative against her. For instance, on August 9th, the film's release date, after sharing certain negative articles about himself with Abel, Baldoni stated, "There is no way we can just let this go." Then, on August 15th, Baldoni texted Nathan and Abel, stating that his business partner, Sarowitz, suggested flipping the narrative arising from unnamed sources who had made false claims about Reynolds' involvement in the script of the film and suggested ways to manipulate those rumors to make Reynolds appear anti-feminist. There was no truth in these claims. Nathan had assured Baldoni that this was an easy flip, before indicating she was already working on a story for Variety that would achieve this goal. As of August 16th, Nathan was continuing to confer with additional reporters to release stories casting Lively and/or Reynolds in a negative light. Meanwhile, Lively neither publicly commented nor directed any of her representatives to comment or engage with media about the hostile work environment that Mr. Baldoni, Heath, and Wayfarer created. Indeed, throughout the time period, Lively did not provide her publicist with details about the hostile work environment that she and other cast and crew members had experienced. Moreover, Lively expressly instructed her publicist not to engage with press inquiries, including ones regarding on-set behavior of Baldoni, Heath, or Wayfarer. Experiencing the very sudden tidal wave of the increasingly negative public attention building around her, however, Lively began to suspect that the extraordinarily rapid shift in sentiment and coverage that began immediately after the rest of the cast and crew attended the world premiere was likely orchestrated by the men about whom she had raised HR complaints. G. Mr. Baldoni retaliated because HR complaints regarding his behavior threatened his feminist brand. Mr. Baldoni was desperate to suppress any suggestion that he engaged in inappropriate conduct, much less harassing conduct, because it would entirely undermine his carefully curated public image as a feminist ally. In 2017, Baldoni presented a TED Talk entitled, "Why I'm Done Trying to Be Man Enough." Baldoni challenged men to be man enough to stand up to other men when they hear locker room talk, when they hear stories of harassment. Mr. Baldoni asked listeners, "Will you actually stand up and do something so that one day we don't have to live in a world where a woman has to risk everything to come forward and say the words 'Me Too'?" During the TED Talk, Baldoni displayed numerous screenshots of media coverage of himself from various sources as examples of his decision to use his social platform as a kind of Trojan horse wherein he could create daily practice of authenticity and vulnerability. Baldoni then claimed, "The response has been incredible. It's been affirming. It's been heartwarming. I get tons of love and press and positive messages daily." Around the same time of that TED Talk, Baldoni announced the launch of a male talk show through his media company, Wayfarer, called Man Enough. Through that show, Baldoni sought to have public conversations on camera that he had never seen men have. In one episode, Baldoni hosted a roundtable with really strong men. That's a quote, including Mr. Heath and others, in reaction to the Me Too movement, to collectively learn from each other, from experts, and hear firsthand from women, and try to figure out how we can be better allies in our responses and our actions. In the episode, Baldoni questions the group, who at this table has seen something and didn't say anything. I mean, objectification, harassment, and then not said anything. In 2021, Man Enough added a podcast. The Man Enough podcast had features episodes entitled Strength and Unity, Men Supporting Women in Leadership, From Misogyny and Its Victim to Male Privilege, and modern dating, consent, boundaries, and respect. Baldoni stated in his 2017 TED Talk, "Men are the problem. They created the glass ceiling, and if they want to be part of the solution, then words are no longer enough." By Baldoni's account, he became a feminist fighting for gender equality so quickly that he has not even realized that's what he was trying to do or wasn't trying to do. In Baldoni's own words, his activism starts in the mirror with an audience of one. Baldoni has stated that he feels a deep responsibility to tear down the walls of power and privilege, and believes the world needs men to show up, not in big ways, but in hundreds of thousands of little ways, to create a better, more equitable, just world. Over the past approximately 7 years, as relevant to this complaint, Baldoni has made the following statements. A. Let's just shut up and finally listen to the women in our lives. B. Men are going to have to start doing now is recognizing when they made women uncomfortable and didn't realize it. I think that's when the other side of Me Too movement is, I'm sorry. C. Growing up, how many times did I hear bros before hoes? How demeaning. How sexist. We've built the system, the opposite of accountability, and now it's time to figure out how, as men, we can break that system. And it starts with showing what a real man is. A real man is someone that says, hey man, we're still friends, but that's not cool. D. Imagine being SA'd, finally coming forward about this traumatic thing that happened to you, and having people acting like you were to blame. E. It's important for us men to create how crucial a role bystanders can play in stopping and preventing assault and harassment, and how we must be part of a movement and call for respect and equality for women, act upon that call to action, and continue to perpetuate positive behaviors amongst ourselves and our communities. F. Are you confident enough to listen to the women in your life? And will you be man enough to stand up to other men when you hear locker room talk and when you hear stories of harassment? G. All of us have a situation or a pattern that we need to end the cycle of. H. First of all, I want men to stop asking the question, why do women stay? I want men to take accountability. I want men to hold other men accountable. There's never been an excuse, no matter how much trauma a man has. There's never an excuse to lay hands on and hurt a woman, physically or emotionally. And we have to understand that the majority of domestic violence isn't physical. These are scars that are invisible. These are things that, it's emotional, it's gaslighting, it's all the various things that happen and that so many people experience. J. I think we judge enough women and victims, but the real question is, why do we keep allowing men to harm? In sum, Baldoni has crafted a public image of himself, not just as an ally, but a fierce advocate for women. Contrary, as set forth, Baldoni has spent the last several months and significant resources on his goal of wanting to bury and destroy Ms. Lively for raising questions about his and his CEO's harassing behavior and other disturbing content. H, because G was already mentioned, so I believe this is an error in duplicate. So H, Ms. Lively, her family, and her businesses have suffered and have been substantially harmed by Wayfarer parties' conduct. While there was considerable coverage of the film and Lively leading up to the film's nationwide release in U.S. theaters on August 9, 2024, that coverage was mostly neutral. Some online discussions referenced an apparent feud between cast members, but they included a smaller percentage of negative and positive mentions. Soon, Ms. Lively and her team became aware of an increase of negative media articles and social media coverage about her. The significant spike in the volume and negative sentiments around Lively included notable spikes on approximately August 8th and 14th, and continued to trend mostly negative for the remainder of 2024. Indeed, as noted, TAG itself noted a shift due to their efforts as early as August 10th. As of that date, the sentiment towards Lively turned toxic, with a sudden increase in negative comments, including content that was hypersexual and caused for Lively to go F herself. Nearly decade-old interviews of Ms. Lively were surfaced, commenting on her tone, her posture, her diction, and her language. Lively was criticized for how she was marketing the film, and she was repeatedly called a bully, mean girl, and controlling, and criticized for allegedly marginalizing Baldoni, among many other things. Articles, which members of Tag and Jones' team, working on behalf of Baldoni and Wayfarer, credited themselves with influencing, dissected Lively and contemplated her cancellation. The Wayfarer team on Information and Belief ceded social media content to publications with small audiences and lax editorial standards, and then fed those posts or articles to publications like Page Six, Newsweek, New York Post, TMZ, and BuzzFeed. These publications have larger audiences and a greater reach, which significantly amplified the negative sentiment towards Miss Lively. Content from low-influence sites was often linked or referenced in articles on these high-influence articles and platforms. The social manipulation campaign engineered by Baldoni and Wayfarer helped create and sustain a negative news cycle and social media algorithm around Ms. Lively. The online narrative continues to trend more negatively as compared to other weeks and months prior to the social media campaign, as reflected in the sentiment chart dating from the publicity event on June 13, 2024, through to the present. This was precisely the effect that Baldoni and Wayfarer hoped to achieve. They manipulated the social conversation to discredit and bury Lively in retaliation for reporting her concerns about harassment and unsafe conduct, in the hopes of deterring her from potentially taking those same concerns public. This campaign has been devastating to Lively, including by causing substantial harm to her, her family, as well as her businesses and all people who work at each of them. Unlike Wayfarer and Baldoni, Lively has been precluded from not only experiencing the success of the film, but also having the ability to engage further with her businesses, fans, and social media followers without immediately triggering an onslaught of hateful comments. Instead, Lively and her family have been forced to contend with a wide-reaching negative media campaign. When it became clear that this media blitz was a result of an intentionally seeded, cultivated, and financed campaign against her, Lively began to experience mental, physical, professional, and financial harms that continued to this day. The effects on her personal life or professional life were immediate and substantial. Given the ongoing nature of this campaign and the associated negative public sentiment, Lively did not believe she could proceed with the public appearances or events without being forced to openly discuss what happened on set. For example, Lively canceled a critical target corporate event for her hair care company, and she backed out of her scheduled role to host the premiere of the 50th anniversary season of Saturday Night Live in September 2024. The retaliation campaign has damaged her companies as well. The long-planned launch of her hair care line, Blake Brown, a date which was set more than a year prior to the date selected, not by Ms. Lively, for the release of the film, was caught up in the crossfires of the negative environment around her. Initially, before this campaign started, Lively was informed that Blake Brown was Target's largest hair care launch on record. Based on internal sales projections, the sudden and unexpected negative media campaign launched against her depressed retail sales of Blake Brown from 56 to 78%. This dramatic drop was completely at odds with the high satisfaction scores that the company product and the products received in the significant consumer testing before launch or its initial success after launch. Around the same time, social media accounts for her other brands, including Betty Buzz and Betty Booze, were flooded by hateful comments, which began to echo through other media outlets. This astroturfing campaign was responsible for this wave of comments. None of Lively's businesses could operate as they ordinarily had before, and instead, the Baldoni Wayfarer astroturfing campaign forced each of Ms. Lively's businesses to go dark on social media in August. Lively did the same for nearly 2 months, and during this time, she was unable to market or promote any of her businesses, all of which rely on her support, causing issues with many business partners and customers. Moreover, when Lively limited comments on her personal Instagram account to limit the toxic harassment she was receiving, those users simply migrated to other accounts and websites, like the companies mentioned. Many of these negative comments on these businesses and their social media accounts and websites had nothing to do with the brands or products, but instead referenced the film Baldoni or Lively as a bully or a mean girl. The emotional impact has been extreme, not only affecting her, but her family, including her husband and 4 children. There are days when she has struggled to get out of bed, and she frequently chooses not to venture outside in public. When she fought to maintain her personal life and business interests, behind closed doors, she suffered from grief, fear, trauma, and extreme anxiety. She has also experienced repeated and painful physical symptoms as a result of this experience. Mr. Reynolds, too, has been affected mentally, physically, and professionally by his wife and his children's pain. Worst of all, however, has been the impact on their young children, who have been traumatized and emotionally uprooted in ways that have been substantially impacting on their well-being. These are but a few examples of the harm caused by this malicious campaign, which pervaded and continues to all aspects of Lively's life. She never sought out conflict with Wayfarer, Ms. Baldoni, or Mr. Heath, but instead consistently attempted to speak up for a safe and respectful workplace privately, in the hopes of protecting herself as well as the cast and crew without jeopardizing a film that she believed could make an impact and a difference in people's lives. In response, Baldoni, Heath, and others working for them sought to destroy Lively and anyone else who knew the truth. Lively's discovery of the full extent of the retaliatory campaign launched by Wayfarers and their parties has left her with no choice. Through this complaint, Lively seeks to set the record straight, to hold the Wayfarer parties and associates accountable, and to shine a light on this new form of retaliation, so that it will not be used against any others who seek to stand up and speak out against harassment. And that is that. And then it starts with the exhibits, which we have already covered throughout the reading of the complaint. Baldoni has denied the allegations, calling them completely false, outrageous, and intentionally salacious. He has also filed a lawsuit against the New York Times for libel over their reporting on the complaint. This is most certainly a high-profile case, with serious accusations on both sides and potential ramifications, depending on how the legal process bears out. What are your thoughts on this situation? I'm hoping to have enough time to read Baldoni's complaint as well, so please look forward to that potentially in future episodes. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you never miss an update from me. Your support means the world to me. It's helped the channel grow, and I thank you for listening. Happy New Year, and stay safe.